We want to show the real side of small business, the true small business life. There are a lot of misconceptions about small business, and we want to give you a glimpse into the real life of a small business owner. The highs, the lows, the failures, the successes, the full small business life story, so that you too can know that you are not alone on your small business journey, and so that you can see the journey that many other small business owners have taken themselves. Remember to like, share, and comment so that many others can share in this small business life story. Hello, Matthew. Thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing?
Mr. Beeman, I'm doing great. It's great to be here. Appreciate
Oh,
you for having me.
oh, absolutely. Thanks for carving out time. I know we're all getting ready for that big fourth quarter push here, especially in your industry. Speaking of, how has the first three-fourths of the year treated you, and how is the last quarter looking?
Man, so for us, first of all, I'll say 2021 has been a great year. We're hitting our goals so far. We've got a lot of growing pains that we're dealing with, but I have no complaints with growing pains. I'll take them. For us, being in pest control, the busy time is the spring, summer. It starts to slow down in the fall. But since we've expanded into more of a home service based um, business provider, serving more manageable, others are starting to take place and shift. And so, um, it's been interesting, especially this being a newer process for us.
Oh, for sure. That siphoning of services, so to speak, that are very cyclical. Obviously, Christmas lights all around Christmas, but then for mosquito treatment and stuff, especially in the DFW area, you have your 7-8 month season where it's really intense. But that kind of gives a good segue here because we do want to talk about that in depth. How did you get to this point? Because you are a business owner, you've been a business owner for a while now, but you're also a really young guy. I mean, you're just one of those really ambitious go getters in all the good ways. Who is Matthew? What's the story?
Man, oh, I appreciate that. You're significantly younger than me though, and the people who know you might not see that because you carry yourself very well.
Oh, thank you.
Um, but man, yeah. So we've been in the game now for 6 years. We started Mosquito Joe back in this is year six, so we started in 2016. Went with the franchise model um, and grew our business that way. Before being in Mosquito Joe, I mean, my background career wise was being a coach, administrator, working with kids, typically in the nonprofit sector. I played a lot of sports growing up. I've coached through college, and then after college. And so being that mentor type before this has definitely helped from the managerial side, not so much from, actually running the operations of a business side. But now with the franchise growing, we've having our Hero Home Services brand kind of start up from scratch, and then we officially added our third business, our third DBA, Heath Lawn and Tree, which we got through acquisition. So we've got all the different angles from franchise to startup to acquisition, and it's been wild. Um, Business is all being an entrepreneur has always been a passion of mine, I guess. Being an entrepreneur, you don't really have a typical path like most people do. I remember taking the career aptitude test in high school, and I'd been looking forward to taking this test since I was a little kid. And we finally get to do it and take the test. We got to wait for the results to come back, and they come back, and inconclusive was what I got.
Oh
And
man.
I'm pretty sure I shed some tears on that.
Oh no.
Um, but man, just not having the words for it, at that age. But now, I mean, I'm all about the entrepreneurial life, trying to find the next hustle. How do we integrate it into our bigger systems? And yeah, we're having a lot of fun, man.
So when you made that transition to Mosquito Joe and actually having ownership in it, because you got the nice branding right behind A plus, by the way, A plus.
Appreciate that. Yeah.
What was that transition like? Was it something that you knew you wanted, or was it something that kind of fell into your lap, or how was that process? Because we see a lot of different things there for people who have not yet started their business and want to start one,
Mm.
or for people who already have, and we're kind of like, am I an outlier? What was your process like? What was that transition?
Like I said, I always had kind of a hustler mentality. I always, the gig economy, that was always me. Being coming home from college in the summers, I was always doing cut grass, walking people's dogs, uh, helping people move, anything to make money. I mean, I was all about that. Um, how we got into owning and operating a business as we're a family run business. My dad and I are 50-50 partners in this thing. A little bit different because pest control, I wasn't even on my radar. Um, in 2015, I worked for a company that did sports camps for mainly churches, but we also did birthday parties and whatnot. Shout out to Triumph Sports. I got brought on as a coach, but also an area director. So I was going to help the owner sell the program to different churches and partner with VBS and do that whole thing. Being 25 at the time, I was extremely unprepared and overconfident for my capabilities to do that job. And I got demoted, and I'd never been demoted or fired before. He didn't fire me because I was a great coach. I was great with kids. I was great organizing the camps, and I loved it. I loved it. And I stuck with him for the summer. And after that summer, had just being engaged, just getting a new apartment. Um, Realized that this is what I want to do, and I think I can do it myself. I actually started kind of putting together the pieces of what my organization would look like, and I started taking it to different schools. Um, and I actually took it to a school. They told me that they didn't have the room for my program, but they liked me, and I actually sold out and just took the job. They put me on salary. I had a full-time job, and that whole entrepreneurial stuff took a backseat to my job. Now, the 9 to 5, back, I had the benefits. I
Right.
had everything that, all the security, everything was cool. But in the background, my dad, who had been working at Apple Computer for the last, 22 years, um, was looking for what his next move was going to be after he retired, and he was looking at the franchise models. And so, even though we were completely on, we would talk about it. We weren't thinking of working together. He actually got a license to do uh, accounting work and was going to pick an accounting type franchise. The last minute, caught Mosquito Joe, caught his eye. He liked it because there's always the demand for pest control and DFW. Mosquitoes are crazy. You were thinking that if he's crunching the numbers, he's thinking that, oh, we'll be in business with this forever. Um, and then at the last minute, asked me if I wanted to be a part of it. And here, out of nowhere, here's an opportunity for me not only to run and operate a business, but a business with my dad, which I can't say was always a dream or a passion, but when the concept came up, I mean, it was awesome, and I was not about to turn it away. Being in the nonprofit sector, on the ground floor, anybody who goes in a nonprofit, they want to make a difference. They want to
Yep.
do something. But on the ground floor, man, it's tough. I think the life cycle for somebody who goes into a nonprofit is like 3 to 5 years, being that foot soldier. And so for me, running and operating a business was a way for me to switch up the platform, create the platform for myself, and I could grow it from a different angle. Um,
It's more scalable.
yeah, yeah. And if that was killing bugs, if that was doing anything, man, I was going to be open to it. But that's how it was kind of a backwards way. I mean, nothing to do with pest control or a specific passion for killing bugs per se, but kind of a desire uh, to
A
build
passion
the
for
platform.
entrepreneurialism.
Yeah, absolutely,
So the
absolutely,
opportunity
man.
just kind of fell in your lap. You had everything you could ever want. Life was going great. And you know what? Ah, the heck with it. Let's go take the shot. What do we got?
I've been a risk taker. Looking to scale and do things big and do them differently. Um, this kind of fit into my nature. I'm extremely blessed and privileged that I've got a dad that was willing to provide me with not only the opportunity, but to make his son a 50-50 partner. I mean, the first couple years, I mean, he kind of gave me the keys to the castle when I was running this thing. Um, it wasn't until year three where he fully made, because they were living in Austin, Texas at the time. That's where I'm from. Made the move to Dallas and then started working it full time as well. So he entrusted a lot with his 25, 26-year-old son that I don't know many dads. Me being a dad now, that's tough, man. Um, but I'm extremely blessed, and I'm forever grateful for that.
So you went from full-time employee to full-time entrepreneur. What were some of the things you noticed that changed at that point in time? And this is again one of those things where it's different for everyone, but some of the common themes that we see is you go from having like a few very specific duties that you have to do every day to wearing 10 million different hats every single minute of the day.
Yeah. Man, again, I was very suited for this. So I not only went from employee to full-time entrepreneur, but I got married at that time too. I
Oh
got married
man.
on March 12th, 2016. And my wife, Brooke, and I flew out to Virginia Beach, where corporate headquarters for that side, Mosquito Joe, is located. And the next day, March 13th, we got married on a Saturday. We flew out there on a Sunday, went straight to training. Monday, that whole next week, we were operating and running and ready to go. We came back, got the truck. Um, so there was a lot of life changes in that time frame. Um, where I would say I was suited was, again, my skill set and what I've done historically and working for nonprofits. I've always, in every organization I've been in, I've worn multiple hats and I've done different things. And I've always been the jack of all trades, master of enough to be dangerous. I don't like the phrase master of none, because of my Swiss Army knife style, I've been able to infiltrate um, organizations, and where somebody would typically just have a job, kind of interface with different parts of the organization and rise to a level that other people weren't always able to get to as quickly, because they were more stuck and structured. And
Right.
there's strengths and weaknesses to that. I'm a very fake it till you make it, go with the flow, wing it if I have to, never say no, learn on the go. That all of it, man.
You find a way. There's no plan B. There's no backup plan. There's no, well, if this doesn't work, it's going to work. You find a way. And it can be tough sometimes, but that's the approach you've got to have for business. You're either all in or you're not in at all.
No, no doubt. And I'm big into like the Enneagram, the Strengths Finders, and all these different assessments. And I took the Clifton Strengths Finder in college, and I retook it again recently. And there's been a little bit of change, but the one thing that was consistent, my number one strength of the Clifton Strengths Finder, was strategic. And so any opportunity or any situation, just the way that my mind is wired, I can automatically think of solutions and try to solve problems. So being in a sector where I can do that on an everyday puts me in a place where I could be in flow and I can
Big
be
time.
in a zone, where people who don't have that fit, whether they're in an entrepreneurial position, a business owner position, or in a job, if you don't have the opportunity to act out of your strengths, you're going to have a hard time being fulfilled. So again, I've just been blessed with the acknowledgement of those things, and so I've been able to uh, cater to it.
I think that's a perfect segue into kind of talking a little bit more about what your business does specifically, because you kind of talked about wearing the different hats, getting into different areas
Sure.
of the industry. Kind of tell us, and for those listening who aren't familiar, what exactly you do from a business perspective. What product service do you deliver? But then also some of the rationale regarding the expansion of your products or services, because I think you and I have talked offline several times. I think it's a fascinating model. It's got a lot of merit to it. But kind of walk people through the mindset and things that you kind of look for in that scenario without giving away the secret sauce, of course.
Man, if I had the secret sauce, oh, I would be selling it right now. I'd give it away and have people chase me down and follow me on Instagram, man. I wish I did. Um, So again, we started with the Mosquito Joe franchise, which we make outside fun again. Our focus is to allow people to enjoy their outdoor space by getting rid of fleas, ticks, and mainly mosquitoes. And in DFW, there are a lot of mosquitoes a lot of the time. Earlier, you said about 7 months. It's typically, up here, our season runs from March, the beginning of March, sometimes late February to mid December. And so, um, yeah, we take, a couple weeks of December off, January off, and we're back up operating again in February or March. So our main service offering is the mosquito barrier spray, where we're sending a technician out to treat the property, assess for any, find any breeding sites, treat the standing water, or remove it if possible. And that's 80%, 90% of the battle is getting rid of that standing water.
Oh yeah.
And then treating the foliage with a permethrin-based or pyrethroid-based insecticide, which basically affects the nervous system of the mosquito or insect. The products that we use will knock out, 30 to 40 different insects. It's really the way that you apply them is going to have the desired effect.
Interesting.
So we don't have any contracts with any of our services. Uh, Again, the barrier treatment is kind of our bread and butter. We've expanded out. We do misting systems, which are awesome. An automatic misting system. We do installs and maintenance on that. And that was what we were operating. That's what the franchise provided. And over the years, it's expanded. And now we do perimeter pest, which is more again, the whole concept is keeping the bugs outdoors and not allowing them to come in. So Mosquito Joe doesn't offer any indoor pest control um, services, but we had customers that were asking for indoor pest control services. Not only that, they're also asking for um, landscape, mowing their grass, lawn care. So treating their
Hmm.
grass for weeds, for army worms, if they've got different disease spots in the yard, fungus growing in their garden. And we didn't do it, and it all started with just the small asks of, you guys, what would it take? I mean, I know you can refer me to somebody else, but I like you. What would it take for you to come and do my rodent bait stations every 2 months? What would it take for you to come clean my gutters? Um, so you're hearing these things, when you're just, small operation, you go out there and you just do it for the person and you tell them, here's how much it costs, for my time, and here's what it is. But as it becomes more frequent, you start to learn how to systematize those things and put it into play, because now you have a consistent revenue stream. And I want to be able to continue this revenue stream, because people, not only did they like me before, now they like me even more. And they're referring me, yeah, this guy, he's pretty good at, he was so sweet and good at taking care of my rodents. But you know what? They're great at killing mosquitoes. They're amazing. And that's what, so that's what got us them in the first place. And so it did help our main source of revenue line by adding the additional service. Um, the biggest thing that got us going into additional services, though, was, how do I protect my biggest asset, my team? How do I protect my team in the off season when I don't have any revenue coming in? What do I do? I got to think of other ways. So that's where the Christmas lights came up. That was kind of our first big push for an outside service. Um, we're going to do Christmas lights. Turns out that, if it's still warm in November, my whole Mosquito Joe team is going to continue to do Christmas, or continue to do mosquito treatments all through November, which people only want Christmas lights put up in November and maybe the first 2 weeks of December. And
Hmm.
so, it was a lot of me and my dad out there doing most of the work, which was cool. But now, coming up on year 3 of this service, if we don't have the systems in place to expand, and we just have a lot of jobs. And so it's like our mindset over the years is starting to shift into um, building these different systems. How do we provide service, great service, to our customers? It doesn't matter what that service is. but how do we provide it? How do we get it to them? How do we bring service back into the service industry? And that's where Hero Home Services came into play. And so we're taking the different things that we're capable of doing, that we know how to do, um, and actually applying. We're not just shotgun approach anymore. We're not going to do whatever. There's specific things that we're really good at that we can help you. Anything else, we'll still refer it out, contract it out. Um, but that's been the mindset recently. How do we continue to build on providing service for our customers so they come to us before they go to
Mhm.
somebody else?
And this kind of plays into some of the discussions that we've had previously. But can you clarify and elaborate? I know what you're talking about, and I think there are some people, many people who know what you're talking about. But there's also a hefty chunk of business owners that don't really know what it means when you say build the system, make it a system. When we're stressing that word, what does that really mean in practice? Because one of the things that we see at the McGraw Council, we'll be onboarding a client, we'll be helping them build their system, and they're like, "I'm an HVAC guy. What are you talking about building a system?" Or I'm a landscape company. I maintain lawns, or I put up fences. Well, yes, but and so please elaborate a little bit on what you mean when you say make things a system.
Wow, there's so many different ways that I could start my answer right now. Um, the first thing that I would say, you time equity. Me as an individual, I only have so much time in a day, and my body has limits. And so, if I'm only relying on what is in my mind and what my hands can produce, I have a limit to what I can create, and my output is limited. Um, and then what if I got hit by a bus? What if I walked outside right now and
Right.
I could no longer operate or do anything? What would happen to my business? It has to be able to survive without my mind and without my hands. And once you grasp that philosophy, you will naturally start to look for ways to replace you in all the little intricacies. And then you realize you can't do it unless you know what those intricacies are. What do I do every day? Because it's always different. Well, then you start having to break down, okay, what are the most important things? I think it's E-Myth, maybe, or Seven Habits, that talks about your quadrants. One of those books where you've got your important, non-important, urgent, non-urgent. And
Exactly.
so quadrant one is important and urgent. Then you go down to quadrant four, not important, not urgent, but it gets done.
Exactly.
Those are the first things that you want to delegate out or cut them. The urgent and important, you want to make sure that those are getting done, but they don't always have to get done by you. The business owner doesn't always have to be the person putting out the fires. And as we grow, and as you add people and you delegate, um, there's two struggles that I've experienced personally. Um, you start to delegate, then you start leaning a little bit, and then you begin to abdicate. And not only have I given this task away, but I've also relinquished the responsibility for making sure that task gets done. And so I tell my people now that we're building them into leaders. Just because you're responsible for something doesn't mean that it has to be you that personally gets it done. You are responsible that it gets done at a high level,
Right.
but you don't necessarily have to be the one that does the task itself. And I think that's important for business owners to fully understand. So there's that. And then secondly, as you start to delegate, your people who are not going to do it as good as you, they're not going to care about it as much as you do. I'm extremely blessed. And sometimes I question that statement. I think my people do care more than I do about the little things, which I love because they pick up on my blind spots. But if you don't give them enough trust, and if you don't enable and empower them while still holding them responsible and accountable, um, they will come to you every time something comes up. And so you will, now that you've delegated, will try to start working on the things that you need to work on. But then every little thing, every question that they have, every small issue, they're going to come to you and they're going to ask you for help.
Yep.
And if you've ever played chess on the computer and you start asking for hints, You press it, 4 or 5 times, pretty soon you're not the one playing chess anymore. The computer is. And they will never grow unless you empower them to make those decisions and let them make mistakes and be confident and then coach them through it. I tell my people that I'm not going to be mad at you if you make a mistake if you can just explain to me why you did it. If you have an understanding
Exactly.
of why you did it, then okay, you can explain it to me. Cool. I would have done it differently, or I might have done it like this, or next time let's think about it this way. But I got no beef with you because you thought through it and now I can coach you up. So thank you. Thank you for
Mis-
making that mistake so we don't have to do it again.
Mistakes are going to happen at any business, whether it's a team member or you as the business owner.
Mm,
Mistakes are inevitable. The key is that you don't make the same mistake twice. If you're seeing the same mistake pop up over and over and over again, that's a deeper issue. But I think that's another back to one of your earlier points about, that no plan B, so to speak. You can't be afraid of making a mistake. You can't be afraid of the rejection or the no, because it goes with the territory. And it's part of building the system to where you ultimately want and need it to be.
man. No, that's so true. That's so true. Yeah, I'm not. Again, back to the personality stuff. I'm a 3 on the Enneagram. My wife is a 1. She's much more inclined to wait until something is right. Um, Almost perfect. The ones they get classified as the perfectionists because they'll
Hmm.
hesitate to do something. The 5s. My dad's a 5, and so between my wife and my dad, we all balance each other out. He's way more analytical, and it's almost paralysis by analysis. Where me, I'm being 3, I'm much more likely to. I want to check things off the list, and I'll turn them in early, even though it might be a little rusty or shaky. And so having that balance from your people and understanding, you don't always have to have this perfectly drawn out plan, but if you know yourself and you know your team and you have a goal, um, again, as a 3, like if I don't have a goal, I'm I'm a dog chasing the ice cream truck, chicken with the head cut off. I need a goal in order to point me in a direction. Um, and then having those people that have different skill sets can help you achieve it as long as y'all have the same understanding of your vision
Yep.
and what your organization's goals are.
And working with different personalities like that can definitely have its difficulties, but that's probably the best position you could hope to ever be in because you're ensuring you have a wide perspective, you have a wide view of the situation or situations that you're currently dealing with, which obviously puts you in a better position to solve the challenge, to solve that specific problem, and then come forth with a solution that's much more holistic and have a much higher likelihood of success.
Oh, no doubt, man. Pat Lencioni talks about the working geniuses and the 6 different working geniuses. And if you have a team too loaded in one on one side, you're not going to be as efficient as you are if you're more spread out because people and their different strengths. I mean, it just breeds success as long as you're a healthy organization,
Right.
and that organizational health is also an important aspect that you have to cater to. That not a
So
lot of
true.
business owners, you get into, I'm just Mr. HVAC or I'm just Mr. Pest Control guy, and I've been doing this for 20, 30 years. Um, Not talking down on anybody or any thought process because a lot of people like the way they operate, but if you're going to build a team, you have to take time and focus on operational health and making sure your people are being fulfilled and you got the right people on the right bus in the right seats. Any one of those is off, then you're gonna have trouble.
It's so true. It's so true. And that is actually kind of going off on another tangent. I do want to get your opinion on. As a business owner, kind of speaking to other business owners, what are some of the highs and lows that they should expect? I mean, because we've seen people who have literally in the first year or two of the business literally battled depression. And we've had other people say, at the high point though, life cannot get any better. You get to go home to your family every night. You get to say, you get, literally hold all of them, hug them all, have dinner with them. You get to do what you love. You get to help someone in your line of work. Life can't get it's like you're battling with way opposite ends of the spectrum. What are some of those high and lows or things that a business owner should anticipate?
Man, it's funny. I've heard people talk about they want to leave their 9 to 5. They're tired of having a boss. They want to be the boss. They want to do. their thing now. They want to be able to be flexible. They see business owners that, oh, they go to golf course, they could take a vacation. And it's true. I can do whatever I want, whenever I want, and it's awesome. Nobody can tell me other than my wife if I need to be somewhere or not. And sure, that's great, fine and dandy. Um, Good luck being successful having that mindset for too long as a business owner, because a lot of times you get into it and it's the exact opposite. I mean, I don't have one boss. Sure, I have 12 team members that I have to cater to not every single one of their needs, like I'm, catering and babysitting them and whatnot,
Not
but
pandering.
their opinions matter. I mean, I'm reliant on them showing up every day, coming in with a good attitude, being consistent and coachable, and not being cancerous to my culture as a whole. I mean, if you let up on any of it, stuff can creep up on you.
Oh yeah.
And team culture is again, I preach that left and right.
Especially
And
for your industry where you have such high contact with the customer, you have someone come in with a bad day, you can lose 20 accounts in the blink of an eye, and then
oh
it starts
man,
really compounding for the work.
Oh, you talk about, I mean, and we have dodged some bullets. So there's a lot of misconceptions. It's great to be able to be the master of my own fate in a sense, to where I can sit down and I can talk to you at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I don't, I can rearrange my schedule in that sense. But a lot of that is a testament to the systems that we've built. And if I've got team members that are coming back on route now, where in 2016, we did 993 work orders. I did that many, and I did every single one of them myself. We've probably done that many in the last month, and I
Right.
might have done a handful of them now. We've been able to expand, and the highlight for me is being able to build and grow something and cater to it, steward it, and watch my people and my team grow. And I tell every single person when they come in on their first interview and we've starting to move through the process, my goal for everybody who comes in here is to when they leave. When they leave, I don't expect people to be here for the rest of their lives. It'd be great if that happened, but I want them to be in a better place than where they were when they came in, which means my mindset from the jump has to be, I'm developing people, not just my systems and not just my revenue, but I'm developing the people that come in here. And so for me to get to see my team grow and to see people come in, I mean, I typically hire younger, 20 to 25 is I have some guys, some team members in their 30s, and then some people in the 50, 60 range. So we have some depth there, but our main group, they're young. They might have had a little college, maybe not. They're trying to figure out life. And
Yep.
so for me to be just a little bit ahead of them on that path, and to have this platform and to have the background, great father figures, multiple in my life, great leaders, great coaches, and to be able to impart that on other people who have not necessarily been blessed in the same way, is an extreme highlight for me. Um, when you start talking about time and flexibility, and it kind of depends on the person's situation, because there's definitely times where my wife and kids would probably, they could articulate it, would say, man, I wish dad did have a regular job, because then he'd be more consistent. On Saturdays, he wouldn't be, you know, out doing whatever. Not all people have to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to make sure that I have everything set up and then ready to go for the next day out the door. Um,
Hmm.
so there's definitely a lot of balance. Understanding that balance, and again, having the people around you that are okay with that. Because if you don't have people in your circle that you're close with that are okay with the crazy, chaotic mess that your life is about to be, if you hop into this game, um, you're gonna have a hard time. It's like being in a marriage where you guys are just exact opposite on either politics or religion, or you just, if you anytime you I mean, you're in a relationship, you get engaged, you're putting a magnifying glass on all the things in the relationship. You get married, it magnifying glass gets more intense. You have kids, it doesn't make the problems go away, it magnifies. And so the deeper you get into business, the deeper you get into those issues or opportunities as
Mhm.
well. And so how you handle those things, what's your emotional intelligence? Um, where how do you respond? How are you wired to respond? Because people come in from some people have more bandwidth than others. So if you come in with less bandwidth to tolerate a lot of those nuances, then what pillars have you ingrained in your personal life that will help you? Because again, if you don't, again, you're going to have a hard time. And not to dissuade somebody, but man, I'm just trying to be real. It
It's
can it can go either way, and you run this business, and I mean, my dad put 22 years at Apple. He started Apple Computer when that stock was worth nothing. So if you can just imagine, and then taking all that and investing in not just one, but now we have three operating businesses. I mean, that's what you worked for your whole life, and that's at stake. And when your team members does something silly, that's at stake.
exactly, and that's why we always really stress to the business owner, if this is all about having more family time in the near future or all about, just being your own boss for the heck of it or trying to earn more money, those aren't bad goals, but that's not what small business ownership is in the first several years. It takes time to get there. Yes, you can have that flexible schedule where you can take the kids out to the zoo any Thursday afternoon that you want. However, that means you're 24/7, you're always on call, so to speak. And it takes time to get there. Or what's the old joke? Overnight success is 7 years. We know
Yeah.
based on statistics, it's really more like 2 years for business to reach profitability. That's all part of it. It's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. We had one podcast guest last year when we started, and they said they were just reaching the point in year 4 where they could actually get 5 hours of sleep a night.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
it's one of those, to your point about misconceptions about business. It takes a lot of effort to get it to where you want to go. Now, the good news is your destiny's in your hands. You can control it, but just know what you're getting into. The same thing with your budgets and forecast. When you budget, in this case, time and plan for it, you know where it's going. You can then determine the ROI and whether or not it's a positive investment. But if you're always shooting from the hip, especially after a few years, and you've been around a little, few years or so, and you're still shooting from the hip, probably a good time to review the system and make sure that it's all firing on all cylinders because it's probably.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Um, no, it's so true. I would say that we have um, we've grown a lot in learning how to rely on systems and building systems, and as we get it all kind of wired together and to bring it back full circle with what we're trying to build for the service industry, especially when it comes to acquisitions. There's a lot of people that have been doing it for they have a lifestyle business, mom and pop sort of a deal that we're in 2021, and um, a lot of their systems and stuff is done paper and in other notebooks and in their head, and it's not digitized. If we can find if we can find you, and if we can help you and integrate you into what we're trying to do, um, we're looking,
Yep.
and that's kind of the goal. And if we can figure out how to integrate this new one that we just picked up, and we get that in, then there's no reason why we can't do it um, 3 to 4, 5 times the next 5 years and continue to grow that way. So not just each individual system, but our collective group as a whole uh, will change and shift. And so you have to have your small goals, but I mean, we're thinking 20 years from now. What do I want this to look like when my oldest son, graduates from college, if that's
Right.
what he is on his path? What is our business going to look like then? Um, and always taking the time to sit back and reflect on that and cater to that and make sure that your people kind of understand, because they never will fully get it. um, the more equity they have, whether that's sweat or ownership or how much they buy into what you're trying to build, the more they'll appreciate it and sell out for it.
So true. So true. It's hard to believe, but we only got like 10 minutes left here because I want to be conscious of your time as well. But I do
Yeah.
have one more question that I want to
Yeah.
ask you.
Sure.
Given your background, the transition, the fact that you are a business owner, multiple businesses, but all integrated and everything, what are the three things that you would suggest to small business owners that they start doing today if they're not already doing it? We've had people say anything from, take control of your mind, take control of your day, to really focus on your cash flow, to don't buy anything unless you absolutely 100% need it. Based upon your experiences,
Oh man.
what are those three things that you might suggest to other business
Oh man, they would have. Y'all might have started some fights with internal fights with us on some of those things. Because,
owners?
uh, wow, no, those are all really good. You could tell people have different philosophies um, on how they operate. I think for me, um, if you as the leader are not pushing yourself to be excellent, Chance the Rapper once said, the people's champ must be everything that the people can't be. And so you as the leader, I mean, you have to push the bar high. I mean, your people, in my opinion, um, if they don't look up to you and want to be you and take your spot and just take everything that you have in order to be you, uh, everybody's different and you don't need everybody to want to strive for the top. But I think you should question um, like what type of life, what are you putting out there? What's your vibe? Like, are you pushing yourself as hard as you could be? And I just think that's extremely important for your own personal growth, but also for the growth of your team. Because secondly, um, I think you got to invest in your team. I mean, there's the old adage of, what if I invest in my people and they leave and I just wasted all those resources? But what if you don't invest in your people and they stay? Man, they're gonna jack
Great
you
way to
up.
phrase it.
They will. They'll jack you up because they won't know. You won't be able to delegate. They'll always, even if they're great people, they'll be around and they'll always be asking for your help on everything,
Yep.
and you're gonna go crazy. You won't be able to achieve the goals that you want. You won't be able to grow the way that you want. So invest in yourself and push yourself in your own way. Everybody's different. I run Spartan races. I love fitness. I love to read and push my mind and listen to podcasts. Um, I love being up before other people. Like, I'm just wired that way. Maybe not everybody's that way. So however it looks for you, push yourself to be excellent. Um, then invest in your team and push them to be excellent. Third would be the opposite end of the spectrum. And if you don't prioritize the people that love you and that you love, they will fall in your to-do list, because you always, even as crazy as it is, you always have time to do the things that you put the most priority to. Doesn't matter
True.
what. If something is a top priority, you have time to do it. Um, there might be a limited list of those things because there's only 24 hours in a day, but make
Exactly.
sure that your priorities are in line, because again, you said it better than I did. You don't, if you're getting into the game just so you have more time to be with family and to be with the kids, then you have another
Reality
thing
check.
coming. You have another thing coming because if you do it right, uh, for a while, you'll have less time, and
Yeah.
then you'll have to figure out how to rearrange and restructure and grow and pivot. Um, the bigger and better you can build out that foundation. Um, you know, Tim Ferriss on 4 Hour Work Week. He's preaching the opposite thing. Yeah, but he's telling about building the systems and building your team so you can then have that time. If you don't take the time to do that, you're struggling. So I would say my third thing is make sure that you do focus on rest. You do focus on, self meditation and building up your family, and that can roll back into to thing one, the first thing too. So it's definitely cyclical. If you know where your value is and you know what your priorities are, uh, then I think you can focus your day-to-day tasks around that.
It's so true, and they're all applicable. Really just pursuing that excellence, investing in the team, and then making sure you have a very clear list of priorities because we all only have 24 hours in a day. That's just the way it goes. Knowing how to leverage it, that's what makes it count.
Man, no doubt, brother.
Hey, Matthew, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to kind of share your journey with us, to share those insights, kind of how you built your business. I greatly appreciate it. And there are a lot of people who can learn from it as well. So thank you so much.
Man, this was a lot of fun. Again, thanks for having me. And yeah, anytime, man. Just give me a call.
Hey, you stay safe, stay blessed, and we'll talk again soon.
Likewise. You too, man. Have a good one.
Bye bye.